Ethan had always wanted to be an athlete. Ever since he was a child, he loved watching races on TV. He admired the runners who crossed the finish line, their faces full of joy and pride. He imagined himself standing there, holding a gold medal, hearing the crowd cheer for him. But he had a problem. Ethan had a breathing condition. If he ran too much without stopping, his chest would tighten and he would struggle to breathe. His lungs would burn, and he would feel like he was drowning in the air. His parents worried about him. His teachers told him to choose something easier. But Ethan couldn't let go of his dream. He wanted to run. He wanted to prove to himself that he could do it. One day, he decided to try out for the school's track team. He walked up to the group of runners, hoping they would accept him. "I want to join the team," he said. The boys looked at him and laughed. "You?" Jake, the team captain, smirked. "You can't even run without gasping for air." Ryan, another boy, shook his head. "An athlete needs to be strong." You'd collapse before the race even started. Ethan's face turned red. He felt embarrassed, but more than that, he felt hurt. Still, he refused to give up. "Just give me a chance," he said. Jake crossed his arms. "Fine, prove it." Ethan stepped onto the track and started running. At first, he felt okay, but soon his chest tightened. His breath became short. His body slowed down. He tried to push through, but his legs gave up, and he fell to his knees, gasping for air. The team laughed. "I told you," Jake said. "You don't belong here." Ethan felt his heart sink. Maybe they were right. Maybe I wasn't meant to be an athlete. But as he walked away, a thought crossed his mind. What if I don't give up? What if I try harder? From that day on, Ethan started training by himself. Every morning, he woke up early and ran in his backyard. He would run for as long as he could, then stop to catch his breath. It was painful, frustrating, and slow. At school, the track team still mocked him. "Still trying?" Ryan sneered. "You will never make it." But Ethan ignored them. He knew that words didn't matter, actions did. One evening, as he struggled to complete a lap on the school track, he heard a voice behind him. "You have heart, kid, but heart alone won't win races." Ethan turned and saw Coach Reynolds, a retired coach known for training great athletes. "Why are you training so hard alone?" the coach asked. Ethan hesitated, then told him everything: his dream, his breathing problem, and how the team had rejected him. The coach listened carefully. Then he smiled. "If you're willing to work hard, I will train you," he said. Ethan's eyes widened. "Really?" Coach Reynolds nodded. "But you must promise me one thing: you won't quit, no matter how tough it gets." Ethan nodded. "I promise." Training with Coach Reynolds was not easy. The coach taught Ethan how to breathe properly while running. He made him do exercises to make his lungs stronger. He taught him how to pace himself so he wouldn't run out of breath too soon. Many times, Ethan felt like giving up. His body ached. His breathing still failed him sometimes. But Coach Reynolds' words stayed in his mind. "Don't let your weakness define you. Let your fight define you." Day by day, Ethan improved. He could run longer without stopping. His breath became steadier. His body became stronger. Months later, the school's biggest race arrived. Ethan had earned a spot. And fate had an interesting twist. He would be racing against Jake, Ryan, and the same team that had insulted him. As Ethan stood at the starting line, he heard Jake's voice behind him. "Didn't expect to see you here," Jake said with a grin. "Hope you don't pass out." Ethan didn't respond. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Bang! The race began. Ethan started at a steady pace, just as Coach Reynolds had taught him. Jake and Ryan ran ahead of him. But Ethan didn't panic. He focused on his breathing, keeping it under control. At the halfway mark, his old fear returned. His chest tightened. His breath felt short. But this time, he knew what to do. He followed his training, steadied his breath, and kept running. One by one, he passed the other runners. Soon, only Jake was ahead. The finish line was close. Ethan's heart pounded. His legs ached. Every part of his body screamed at him to stop. But he didn't. With one final push, he sprinted forward and crossed the finish line first. The stadium erupted in cheers. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping. But this time, it wasn't from pain. It was from victory. He had done it. Coach Reynolds walked up to him, smiling. "I told you, you have heart, and now you have victory." As the gold medal was placed around his neck, Ethan looked at the track. This was where it all started. But this wasn't just about winning a race. He had proved something much bigger. He had beaten not just the team that rejected him, but his own limits. He had fought. He had conquered. And now he was a champion. No obstacle is bigger than your will to succeed. If you believe in yourself and keep fighting, even your biggest weakness can become your greatest strength.